Well, every actor wants a part worth playing, and indeed, a part worth playing is quite apt at the moment because it's the title of the autobiography of, well, he's a British institution, really. It's Mr. Derek Fowlds. Mr. Derek, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
So tell me, how did the autobiography come about?
Well, basically, I have to admit that I never, ever thought that I would write a book, let alone my own story. But you see, I'm not a writer. I am not a writer. I can remember when Nigel Hawthorne and Paul Eddington, who I work with very closely in Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, both of them brought out their own brilliant biographies. And from then on, people were saying to me, when are you going to write your book? When are you going to write your book? I said, look, I'm not going to write my book because basically I'm not a writer. But I have a great friend who I've known for 20 years. His name is Michael Sellers, and he is a novelist. And over the years, and I do mean literally years, if I told a story about someone I'd worked with, you know, Alastair Sim or Gina Lollobrigida or Helen Mirren, he would say, write it down, write it down. I said, look, Michael, please don't ask me again. I'm not a writer. I said, I've got 7 titles, so do you want to hear one of those? About a couple of years ago, Michael came to me and said, look, I'm fed up. You may not be a writer, but you're a storyteller. So please, here is a dictaphone. Just sit in your armchair and tell us the story of your life or what you can remember of it. And that's basically what happened. One morning I got up and I started, and I sat in this armchair for a year and a half. I used to record the cassettes, send them to Michael. Michael would put them all into chapter form, and he wrote the chapter headings for me. Yeah, that's how it happened. I talked to my life.
So there's this woman you've been shacking up with. The moment your back's turned, helps herself to your petty cash, is that right?
No, it's not right, because there were no shacking up, as you call it, going on.
Well, how would you describe it, then?
She were a guest.
Oh, aye.
I'll tell you how the title happened, really. I was being driven by my best man to my first wedding, and I was dressed up with a grey top hat and morning suit, a working class boy from Berkhamsted. I thought, look at the state of me. Grey top hat, off to the church in morning suit. It's like being in a play. And my best man said, well, you are in a play. And I said, well, I hope it's a part worth playing.
Well, it certainly was a part worth playing, and we're glad you got a few other parts. Because, of course, you're known through British television for playing, I guess there's 3 iconic parts. Do you think that's fair?
I think that is fair. I think a lot of people believe that I've only had 3 jobs. I started to recognise the fact that people were getting to know me when I started working with my very best friend, Basil Brush. That's a long time ago. Very old people remember that. But I did 5 years and 8 series and 2 Royal Command performances. After the first series of Basil, I very nearly said no more because I found it quite embarrassing, the first series. Although I loved it and really enjoyed Ivan, who looks after Basil, and the producers and people involved. It was a great time, but I had to go away after the first series because I can remember coming out at the first rehearsal and saying to the producer, what do I do? And he said, well, you come out and you say, hello and welcome to the show. And I said, but how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. I said, do I come out and say hello? I mean, who am I? He said, you're you. I said, but I don't know who I am. He said, just come out, Derek, and say hello and welcome to the show. And I thought, what am I doing with my arm round a bit of fur? What am I doing looking into buttons? Because I'm a classically trained actor. This is bizarre. I don't really think I belong here. So after that first series, I went off to Exeter to play Hamlet. And I said to Basil, I'm going off to be legitimate. And he sent me a telegram saying, how legitimate can you get?
Upper class, champagne, caviar and big cigars. And I'll have lots of jelly babies and chocolate bars. Because it's all written down in the stars.
Soon after that, I came back and I was offered a second series of Basil. And I debated, really, I wasn't sure whether to go ahead with another series. And I had 2 young boys to bring up, and they offered me a bit more money. And I thought, OK, I'll do another series. And it was that series that something really magical happened. This sounds daft, doesn't it? I looked into those buttons and they became eyes. And I looked at that fur and it became a tail. Basil Brush lived from that moment on. He became my best friend and we went on to do many, many, many shows together. And when I left, it was difficult to leave because he really was my best mate. And if you believe that, you believe everything.
Well, you're a good actor. Because you set the template, though, didn't you, for the people that followed, when he was being a little bit too cheeky?
Well, he was very cheeky, and also he had the script under the desk, and I had to learn it all. And sometimes Ivan, who was looking after Basil, underneath the desk, he used to go off track. Yeah, I used to grab him and stop him from speaking. We shared the most wonderful sense of humour. Ivan made me laugh a lot, and we did ad-lib quite a bit. I often grabbed him to stop him going on a bit and refused to let him speak. And so all that, Mr. And his Mr. Derek and his bum-bums became legendary, didn't they, really? It was 5 years of great fun, and I look back on that time with tremendous warmth and fondness and the laughter that we shared. I was very lucky, and I very nearly didn't do a second series.
In days of old, when men of honour battled for their rights, the land was filled with castles and the days were filled with knights. Basil was a farmer's boy who won 1,000 fights. Villains used to tremble when they heard his name. He found a suit of armour and he cleaned it till it shone. He had to use a spanner when he put his trousers on. He vowed to fight oppression until tyranny was gone. And everywhere he went they heard his battle cry. He was a brave, brave man. Basil, the farmer, a man in shining armour, fought against injustice with his sword held high. And all his enemies used to tremble at the knees. And everywhere he went they heard his battle cry. Seated on his destrier and ready for the fray, his honour was unquestioned, and the minstrels used to say he fought 12 battles in a normal working day. Villains used to tremble when they heard his name. Many were the criminals that Basil put to flight. He'd clobber every baddie every dark and dirty night. He won a reputation as defender of the right, and everywhere he went they heard his battle cry. He was a brave, brave man. Basil, the farmer, the man in shining armour, fought against injustice with his sword held high. And all his enemies used to tremble at the knees. And everywhere he went they heard his battle cry.
And I met the Queen, or Basil and I met the Queen. We met the Queen twice, and the Duke, and the Queen Mother. I remember the second time I met the Queen because Basil and I had been down to Luton Hoo, where they had their wedding anniversary every year. And the second time was at a royal gala, and when she got to me, she said, "What have you been doing since I saw you lately?" I said, "Looking after him," because she didn't know that standing beside me was Basil. Not a lot of people know that.
Dare I say he was a brave, brave man?
Oh, he was a brave, brave man. Good. Who's that? I remember in 1993, I went up to Blackpool for an awards ceremony, and it was all set up for me to get a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I thought, Bill Simons, who was with me in Heartbeat, had been awarded, the best actor. And I said to him, "Why have you been awarded that? Have I got anything?" He said, "No." He said, "I want you to be there in Blackpool. I've got to get a table of 10. There we were, all of us getting merry. And then it came to the end for the Lifetime Achievement Awards. And the first person to go up was Barbara Windsor. I said, "I wonder who the other actor is." Now we come to the actor Now, this actor started his career in the West End in a play called The Miracle Worker. And I said to Bill, I was in that. This guy goes on and says, he starts talking through my whole career. And they all knew it. And the whole evening had been set up for me to receive a lifetime achievement. I thought, does that mean I'm dead? I had no speech prepared. I didn't know this was going to happen. So I went up and I said, I just don't know what to say. I'm so thrilled to win this, and thank you, and chuffed. And from the audience, somebody shouted, boom, boom. And I said, so who remembers Basil Brush? And they all erupted. So I got them all to sing the Basil Brush song. The knight in shining armour fought against injustice with his sword held high, and all his enemies used to tremble at the knees, and everywhere he went they heard his battle cry, 'cause he's a brave, brave man.
Who's that? Yes.
Memories.
And that you'd be associated with all the star actors and actresses who give pleasure to millions.
You don't call that a recommendation?
But isn't it a bad idea to be associated with actors? I mean, their job is pretending to be what they're not. And if you're seen with them, well, people might realise. Well, I mean, not realise, might suspect. Might think that you were, not that you were pretending, I mean, entertaining. What was it you wanted to speak to Bill about?
Derek, it's been a pleasure talking to you. All these anecdotes are, of course, in this marvellous book. How do we get hold of a copy if we need to?
Well, you can get it online at Amazon, also at Phantom Publications. You can order it from any bookshop, any Waterstones, an independent bookshop in Ilkley's, The Grove. They've got it in stock. I think Waterstones in Chippenham and Bath have it in stock. I hope Waterstones in Bristol might get it in stock, but I'm sure they can order it.
Thank you very much for sharing your anecdotes with us.
Well, you made it very, very easy. It's been great to meet you, and I hope everyone will enjoy all those tales of years gone by.
Mr. Derek, an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.